Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel here today. Today we're here to react to episodes 15 and 16 of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury here of course. And yeah, very excited to be continuing from last week's explosion. There was like a lot of shit that happened last week. Big, huge plot ramifications that I pontificated on for probably way too long. If I was pacing the show, I would put something a little bit more low-key in these next two episodes to at least get a sense of normalcy back, I guess. But again, we could just be going full pedal to the metal to the end of this thing, right? I don't know. It feels far away, but maybe it's closer than we think, I guess. Either way, I've got the YouTube comments up here ready to go. And I'll start with my own. Apparently I missed some people last week. Sorry, that is just straight up my fuck up. I don't know how it happened. So yes, I've double, triple, bripple checked here today and I've got everybody. So we should be good. And we'll start here with Pencil Sharp, who talks about the ED for Ranking of Kings. The same artist here is doing the opening for Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, of course. I went back and looked at this ED just before briefly. It's fine. It's pretty good. If anything, the song is the standout component. The kind of, I don't know, do I have a button for this? Maybe that's a little bit better. The visuals are kind of nothing, but the song's pretty good, so I don't know. It works for me, I guess. So yeah, that kind of speaks to her talents, I guess. Really enjoying both the opening and, of course, the ending to this new core, to this new season. Up next, we have Ragashingo, who has a nice little reminder for me of the different times that kind of permit-based systems have kind of, you know, Ariel's taking control over some stuff, right? Which was alluded to kind of in the end of the last episode we watched, episode 14? That sounds right. Yeah, because that's going to be the big connecting tissue that makes the big plan work, that makes the whole Quiet Zero thing happen. First up, we have Soletta dueling Elan number 4 outside the academy. Ariel's gun bits surround the Pharact and shut down, which is why Elan panics, saying he can't move. So this is just went straight over my head. Maybe that's, again, I referred to it last week, what Elan was talking about when he heard a voice and there was some laughing or something. Again, maybe that was foreshadowing, right? We can see that now. Second was Soletta versus Shaddiq's squad. They use the antidote anti-Gundam weapons against Ariel, but watch closely when Ariel reactivates. Those antidote weapons aren't destroyed. They calmly retract as if being switched off, and one of Shaddiq's girl squad directly says it's being overridden. So, again, that was foreshadowing. I just completely missed it. And finally, at the end of episode 14, we have the third example whereby we take full control over Sophie's pilotless gun dudes, as I said last week. Which is, again, that one's the most obvious one because we're revealing that ability and that power. Not that it hadn't been revealed before, but you know what I mean. We're talking about it more explicitly as it's going on. I'm probably missing a lot of things. Apparently, Ariel had a prominent redesign that I just went straight over my head. I guess that shows you how much of a mecha guy I am. I didn't even notice that the robot changed that much. Again, probably not here for the robots. It's not really my thing. And again, I think the scenes in the show go at such a pace and kind of, you know, they're not explaining everything as it's going, and I kind of like that. To the point where you can hide things in plain sight, and I could just brush things away and say, oh, maybe it's like space magic, I don't know. So yeah, maybe there was more setups previously. I'm probably betting there was that, again, have just eluded me. If anything, it'll make me more surprised when reveals happen, I guess. Yeah, I probably do need to talk about the ED a little bit more with the kind of gun bit connection, which seems pretty evident and pretty obvious. And as we say here, frightening. I think the implications aren't fantastic for where this thing may be going, for Miorine piloting some stuff. You know what I mean there, right? How honest are we going to be with Soletta in all of this? Is Miorine going to move into a similar role to a Prospera and start using Soletta? And how is Soletta ultimately going to feel about that? Is this a good thing to do? Probably not. And all that Miorine stuff about becoming the thing that she hates, the curse of the Gundam, and all that kind of stuff. All things to keep in mind as we go forward, and we have the last comment here today from Kasogtha. First up here we have a big long look at the etymology of the various big mobile suits that were shown last week. I honestly can't even tell you where these were from. I'm gonna imagine that they were in the fucking Royal Rumble or whatever. What other battles did we even do last week? Yeah, I mean, it kind of was. Yeah, and Sophie and Nerea kind of fighting at the end of episode 13 as well. So I'm gonna imagine that these are the various kind of people involved in that big all-in brawl and their respective mobile suits. And for Kosogtha, we have a lot of shots in the dark here. I didn't do the research. I'm guessing a lot on the channel as well, so don't ever feel bad about guessing in YouTube comments. I'm not going to take anything, verbatim by law. Nobody here wrote the damn thing. They don't know what they were referencing, unless they did, which in that case, welcome. I hope you like my video. We're seemingly finding a bit of a equestrian theme, horses and racehorses and thoroughbreds and all that kind of stuff. So again, I'm trying to make the connection here because I still don't know where these suits were from. I don't know, man. I'm grasping at straws. Are these all like fucking Shadik's girls or something? All horse girls? That could be a direction, I guess. The one we do get some clarity on right here at the very bottom is the Gundvolvers, of course. Very controversial last week. I do like the inclusion of this the symbols on top, umlaut, is that correct? And yeah, a little bit of etymology here as well. A volva being a female practitioner of magical divination and prophecy, alternatively a witch. And again, with what I was referring to last week, maybe that's a bit of a sign. Maybe you follow the line there and things start to make a bit of sense. Kosogtha also helped by providing some lyrics for both the opening and the ending in the Discord here. I didn't see much in the opening here, / by Yama, that was particularly specific about the show, but broadly this theme about changing as a person, breaking who you were before and becoming a new kind of Soletta stuff. I think that's pretty firm here. Maybe even some Utena type stuff, breaking the shell and breaking the world shell and adolescence and growing up, and how is that relevant for Soletta? Also, yeah, Soletta's a clone or something. Like, what's going on there? Right? What is a Soletta? Because unless she's a daughter from like a new guy or something? I don't know where we got to last week with that stuff. Maybe I need to revise. Either way, I know that Eri is a mobile suit, which is Ariel. But anyway, I digress. And for the ED, of course, Red Birthmark by Aina the End. The lyrics are all very lovey-dovey, which I guess matches with the visuals of that ED as well. Yeah, but also obviously got this mournful kind of violent edge to it as well, as potentially that relationship between Miorine and Soletta goes over some rocky times as we continue with the show. Again, there is some genuine feeling at the core of it, but they're not always going to make the best decisions for each other based on external forces. A lot of ascribing of guilt and a lot of conversations about that kind of stuff there as well. Who is ultimately guilty here? What am I doing for the situation? Yeah, again, we don't want to project too far with the show with these lyrics either, but I'm imagining this is going to hit a lot harder once we get some more clarity as to things that are going on. Maybe one thing to watch in the future with these kind of beams that are coming out of the mobile suits. Hey, if they're blue, they're at 100% power. Green beams are training beams, right? It's when we've kind of turned down the heat a little bit, right? So again, when you go full power, you can just kill people, aim for the cockpit and shoot to kill and that kind of stuff, right? But if you had the training mode on, like you would at school, then hey, you can't even break the cockpit if you even wanted to, right? And I think, again, we're implying that some lock-on stuff is being used, like some autopilot type stuff. So if you turn that off, you can shoot people in the head or whatever. And yeah, it's not that I dislike Sophie dying. I did think that there was more potential to do with the character. Again, as I said last week, I still think you can achieve that potential through Nerea. I think that's a way to do that. But again, what Kosogtha argues here is also correct. There's a big conversation about Gundams being killing machines, right? And really hammering that home that these aren't just like, you're not doing like fake, battles at school, right? This is life or death. You are using a weapon. Do not be convinced that you are not using a weapon. Hey, this weapon that we're using as well also drains our own life. So we're putting everything on the line. Soletta, you're kind of cheating. Does that make you even a human in that regard? Oh my god. Yeah, lots of conversations there to be had about death in the show and upping the stakes, upping the tension, people actually dying because of this stuff, willing to put your life on the line for what you believe as well. Yes, Cecilia did stand up, finally. I didn't think that she had the capacity to do so. Potentially she'll actually be in the show now, a little bit more. Those two guys, her and the nerd guy, they're just sitting on the couch the entire show. It's fair enough, I don't know. Yeah, and finishing us off here, yes, I do like the color stuff in the show in general. Just the data storms on the skin, it's a pretty cool effect. And here we kind of pontificate a little bit about how Eri to Ariel even happened and how the brain kind of connected to the machine transitions and whatnot. Nerd stuff, I don't know. All I know is that Eri's not here anymore and Ariel is. I don't really care how we get there. It's you know, some sci-fi type stuff. It is a cool transhumanist type idea, though. Maybe something we'll explore a little bit more as we continue. Again, especially with Soletta. What is Soletta? I don't know. Anyway, it's the job of the show to tell me. Let's shout out the Patreon and see if they can tell me some stuff. That'd be cool. So yes, I have a Patreon. It is linked in the description below. If you wanted to be 1 week ahead, if you wanted to see next week's episodes 1 week early, it's available to you. You can do that. Many people have done this, up to and including Mickey Babbers, AJ, Bananarama Hamadama-sama, Bisa, Bobbin, Capella, Chobo Ribby, Copley, Sinorin, Dapper Dwarf, Domobot, Ed, Fancy Question Mark, Fleur Nightingale, Fruit, Fusel, Gloriana Tenebrae, Glyke, Greybeard, Gus N, Hans Peter, Ika, Yanko Yavanen, Jacob R, Jami Boo, Joran, Kasogtha, Kelvin, Clem, Nosta, Leal, Lick H, Lou, Master Detective, Mistake L. Chen, Molly Weinberger, Mr. Maniacs, Nico Lane, Parnick, Pencil Sharp 333, Ragashingo, Ronlad B&K, St. Lily, Sal, Sam1373, Skeleton, The Lazy Panda Man, Waifu Overdose, Without a Net, Yuki Ali, Zach, Akumansa, Binshi, Voodoo Chili, and Ferdinand Hernando. Thank you to everybody for giving me money. I enjoy the money. Yeah, the show. The show had a lot of reveals. It's kind of hard to summarize everything, but here we go. So Shadik's doing shit. Shadik's making moves. There's the Zanelli guy. Shadik's kind of harem have kidnapped him and taken him off to some location. I don't know if that makes Shadik de facto leader of everything. I think that may be part of the plan here. And again, thematically for Shadik, being on that same level as Miorine, as I keep saying. Miorine met with Prospera. Prospera wants Miorine to continue the Quiet Zero stuff as Delling is currently in a coma. We'll see where that goes, especially Ariel's involvement in such a thing. Speaking of Ariel, Belle came up to Prospera before and said, hey, what happened to your daughter? And also, the mobile suit's weird, and also I have a big old theory that it's actually Eri. Eri is Ariel. And yeah, Prospera basically confirms it, and Prospera's kind of crazy about it. It seems like she's doing all of this for Eri's sake, but is that misguided? That's kind of the vibe. Again, this general thing in the show, this thematic line between a lot of the characters, parent and child, and who really knows best, and who's really acting rationally. A crucial part of Shadik's plan that I should have mentioned before is the use of Nerea and Sophie again. They're they instigated the thing during like the Royal Rumble type deal where, hey, let's distract everybody while we move in and, kidnap the guy. Sophie took it a step too far because of her whole big sister type thing, where again, we're implying some tragic backstory there with the whole plush doll and being an Earthian type thing. We take it up into the sky, and at the same time that we're explaining the Prospera Ariel stuff, Sophie dies. Sophie dies from the data storms. Ariel takes control. Permit score 6, of course. A mere human can't, even hope to compete with that. We've got a special power among special powers. It's insane. But again, as I keep saying, this thing in the show about what it means to be human and putting your life on the line for what you believe, and Soletta not being able to access that in the same way. Yeah, the kind of Ariel being very special in that regard. Yeah, well, lots and lots of cool stuff thematically that I hope will be expounded upon as we continue here into episode 15. Either way, Discord, like the video, Patreon, subscribe, all the things I normally say. And yeah, moving on here, episode 15 coming right up. And rightio, I have episode 15 up there ready to go. 24 minutes and 8 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly with your own copy. I have the Judas file set, should be very similar to official stuff. And yeah, there'll be a picture-in-picture version in the description below for your viewing pleasure regardless. Let's give this thing a 3, 2, 1. Rightio, 3, 2, 1, go. I'm recording as well. We're also on Earth? Hello? Children? Oh yeah, this is where... Is this where Nerea and Junk were staying? Or is this flashbacky? Okay, that's something I probably need to go back and pause and have a look on. Okay, so yeah, this is like the school where they were hanging, right? Yeah, I remember Old Cot. Oh, I see. Damn. Okay, so they know who it is. Sucks to be the head guy, man. Holy shit. I was like, where are we going with this scene? Okay, alright. It's probably about time for him to be back in the show. It's a weird thing to say about this show that is already based on an existing IP, you know, Gundam stuff. But like, it's nice to watch a show that's very obviously being structured with this as its medium in mind, rather than a manga adaptation. We can just kind of, like, I'm satisfied with the pacing, I guess, is the long and short of it. Oh, also, you're here now. Okay, that's a fun opening change. Very cool. Um, but yeah, it's very obvious to see how things are being planned out here and not just kind of being dangled and then left behind. Where again, so much anime has like a adaptation problem, man. Like so much. Like, how are you supposed to make satisfying TV when you're only telling part of a story? It's possible, it's just very difficult. Also, this song rips, by the way. Hell yeah. Yeah, they were descending on Earth last week. Indeed. Father and child. Oh. Okay, so this is what happened to... Whoa. Interesting. So this answers a lot of questions from last week about where people went. Yeah, probably not the time to be, appealing to that side of Nerea. Yeah, that just wasn't smart from Nika, not at all. Think about what's happened with Nerea recently. Also voice acting. That's not fair to ascribe it all to her, though. Yes. Okay. Huh. It's gone right over my head, if I'm honest. Half Earthian. There you go. So it all comes out, huh? Interesting. Okay, alright. Now I have a better idea about what his overall goals even are. Now, this isn't the direction I thought would go immediately. Interesting. Uh-huh. Interesting. Okay. Is that her moving in that direction, maybe? Come on, Phil. Settle down, big fella. You're better than that. Yeah, he seems pretty intense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Most certainly is. Yeah, that's a deep philosophical question. What's what's your story, big fella? Come on. Anyway. Well, he probably does get used like a bargaining chip, and that's how he gets you out of that situation, maybe? Because that's clearly what we're setting up to a conflict here, pretty evidently. Indeed. Ooh. Ooh. Who did? I don't even know who your dad is, man. Oh, see, it's the same theme. I mean, your dad was kind of a cunt. I don't know. So she was gonna go murk him. That's crazy. Yeah, looks pretty serious. I don't know. Are we gonna learn any more about that Olcott guy? Because clearly he feels some kind of way if he's gonna make a decision like that. Alright, conflict has started. And he was a little bit trigger happy. Okay. Oh yeah, he said, yeah. He was very gung-ho. I remember that guy. Collateral damage. I guess Guel's dead. I don't know. I reckon Guel saved the kids. Something like that. Like jumped in the way and shielded them, maybe? This structure for this episode feels like what I thought Gundam was before watching this. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. That's his stupid kid, right? Yeah. Probably shouldn't be that dismissive. I don't know if the kid's stupid or not. He could be very smart. Oh, or not. No, she's alright. Or not. Whoa! How'd Guel go? Oh, is this how he gets away? Oh, and then he, like, saves her, maybe. Some bullshit like that. Shut up and just let it happen, me. Come on now. Okay. Seems bad. Oh, yeah, slick. Hell yeah. Oh! Flank. Sick. Very, very, very different vibe to these battles versus the battles up at the school, right? A lot more grounded. That's our guy. That's our guy. Come on now. This is how you make good on the setup in this episode. That makes perfect sense. Okay. You know, generally concerned with human rights in general. Probably a good way to go. Kind of echoing what Nika was saying at the start of the episode in his actions in a weird way. Oh shit. Not Philby. He's definitely his mother's son. See you later, big guy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you expected, man. I'm gonna be honest. Huh. Huh. Yeah. Show me something now. I mean, you got him. Oh. Well, that's terrible. I okay, that's I didn't even know what to say. I'm kind of speechless. I definitely didn't think that's where we were going. And yeah, another grave, huh? Yeah, I get it, sure. Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Very, very singular episode there. I'm a little bit confused about the Nika side, I guess. So, Who ratted about Dawn of Fold to the point where they needed to flee? Was that Nika? Do we think it's Nika, but it's not really Nika because we know that... I thought Shadiq was involved there. But then Shadiq's an Earthian. But is Shadiq willing and able to throw some people under the bus in the here and now to get to a better end? He's also only part Earthian? I don't know, I probably need to double back and check a few things. But the episode itself, I thought that the central conceit was quite strong, with kind of the father-child connection. Discovering the story of Olcott. This ED is... I can't even, focus, it's so good. Also, yeah, the art style here, and, how it shifts, to a much clearer style here in a second. Right here. Yeah, that's just great gear. It's really, really good. So yeah, probably do need to double back and check a few things with, what led us to that situation. That will probably help elucidate some things. But general level quality of the production was good, and I liked what I saw, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Post-credit. Survival strategy? They said the words. Indeed. So you don't know this backstory, Miarina? That's kind of crazy. I guess. Whatever you say, Sho. Well, yeah. That's probably just good advice overall. I wonder if you will hold on to that going forward. Prospera, jump scare. The cycle of violence? That's our boy. There he is. Okay, I've just read up on some clarifications. So, my confusion is associating Earth as a concept with Dawn of Fold. They're very different, right? Dawn of Fold is an extremist group. They don't represent the views of the Earth overall. Again, extremist for a reason, maybe representing the views, but in a more extreme way. Point being, when Shadiq literally says in front of everybody, I believe it was episode 13 or 14, hey, Dawn of Fold is responsible here, kind of trying to push it all onto them, despite, again, being in cahoots with them and planning with them and that kind of stuff. That's not him betraying Earth, that's him betraying Dawn of Fold. Because his eventual plan here is to sell assets of Banneret Group to Earth to bring about a little bit more of a balance between the Spacians and the Earthians. And I think the confusing part to me is Nerea. So Nerea thinks that Nika is responsible for ratting Dawn of Fold out? Something like that? Because again, the episode starts with the news that they're cracking down on Dawn of Fold, that being kind of everyone else. Nerea thinks that Nika's responsible for that for reasons. That's my disconnect, I guess. Why is again, other than just, letting out her anger on somebody, like, there has to be more of a reason there for Nerea to do what she's doing. But anyway, I guess I'll timecode this so people can see my thought process going forward. But yeah, next episode, let's just jump in. So for a weird reason, my episode for this one is labeled Otonari no Tenshi-sama, which I believe is the angel next door spoils me rotten or whatever that show is. I'm guessing that Judas or whatever just fucked up, so like I'm looking at this looks like Gundam to me. I think we should be fine. Hopefully we're fine. Either way, we're back there to the very first frame. And yeah, let me pop that up there. There we go. 24 minutes and 7 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly with your own copy. I'm also already recording, which is awesome news. Judas file set, as I said, picture-in-picture version in the description below. Let's give this thing a 3, 2, 1 so I can stop this blinding light on my screen. Radio, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, this is back with that Bell conversation. She's the robot. Her brain's fucking on the other side. Everyone loves almost throwing up in this show. I know. Okay. Huh. Interesting. You're sounding almighty evil at the moment. Survival strategy indeed. Ugh. Never talk to me like that ever again. Well. Yeah, she's Una reversing you a little bit. Interesting. So that's why you're so invested too. Okay. Epic. But what of Soletta? That's a little bit more what I'm interested in. How does Soletta impact any of this? Is it just the second kid? I guess. But who's dad then? Anyway. I'm confused. I'm happy we're back with the characters I know again. Because I think last episode had the added stress of me trying to like get character names rather than focusing explicitly on the story being told. So the implication there is that like as they were flying away in Elthrith that the kind of transition occurred, or because her body couldn't adapt to space is the excuse there? Tomato. Okay, so this is being reported on the news now. Okay. Yeah, it's all happening, huh? And you're the Space Assembly group or whatever. Yeah, seems pretty rough. Hmm. Look at you two bickering. Yeah. What's their deal? Election? Election arc? Interesting. Okay, yeah, after the investigation at the end of episode 14. Yeah, give me some Soletta action, please. Or not. uh, what happened to the show I love? What am I looking at? No, okay, no, at the school. I'm trapped on this couch for eternity. Interesting. I mean, Choo Choo can throw one hell of a punch, so. Okay, bud, you're still not in my good books. That wasn't. No. Are you stupid? I don't really care about your stupid friend at all, actually. Whoa! That didn't make it seem like it hit him at all. What the fuck? Oh! Mommy's home. Also, I'm literally the boss. Hmm. Hmm. Whatever you say, man. Oh, look at this little freak. Yeah, we don't care about that shit anymore. Lackadaisical. If you want to live. Well, yeah. What was that scene? Oh! Hey, yo. So did he just, like, hop on a plane, or...? Yeah. Ah, that's great. Ah, he fainted. That's funny. Oh! I'd have to put him in a hospital bed. Well, yeah. I'm more aware than most people. Okay. Leave the galaxy to me. I'll sort him out. So you got a home to return back to. How cool's that? Interesting. Huh. They're getting fucking audited? What is your role? Suspicious, eh? So this Nika angle seems to be how we're going to find out about Grassley's moves, or Shadik's moves more specifically. Oh! A backward step from Choo Choo. Never. Well, so go give your bridegroom a big old hug or whatever. Come on now. Oh, straight back to work, boss. Yeah, I kind of forgot about the whole prosthetics business angle. That's adorable, actually. That's great. Have you been cooking in there? A little bit selfish. I like that. Well, let's go. Come on now. Ah! Who let this freak in? That's not the point, though. Prospera, why are you here? What are you doing? Yeah, why do you wear the helmet? It's the first question I'd ask Prospera. What's the helmet about? What? Oh, you're having a little bit of a look. Whoa! So you gonna let him out of here after seeing this? Nope. Not quite. Ah! Children. Imagine getting haunted by a trillion fucking ghost babies. Holy fuck, we broke his brain. So you gonna tell anybody about that, or... Yeah. Oh, Bell? Oh, shit. Okay. Okay. That went from 0 to 100 very quickly. It's a big fat old tomato. Just like I asked you. No, I'm just thinking about a lot of stuff. Well... Nah, we can thread the needle a little bit better there, no? No, no. Stinks. It absolutely reeks. Cooker Mirine. Come on now. Like a tomato. Yeah, just like that. Well, I already have. You're not meant to admit it. What color are those flags? Maybe the same color as those tomatoes over there. She tweaked. She tweaked. Soletta, come on now. You gotta learn to tell a little white lie sometimes as well. Okay, you're going crazy too. It's a little bit funny. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well... Okay. Settle down, Prospera. Prospera's being haunted by ghosts. Interesting. Blackmail? I guess. The sins of the father are not the sins of the daughter. I'm not sure I need to tell everybody that, but don't project your baggage onto your children. Come on now. Settle like adults. Anyway, this whole show is projecting baggage onto children. It's kind of what everyone's deal is. Anyway, I'm very confused by this show. I think we're getting a little bit too complicated. Just focus up. Just focus up a little bit. That or I'm objectively a stupid person, which, I mean, the jury's still out, but I don't know. Again, things always elucidate a little bit more on the rewatches, so we're gonna hold judgment. But, yeah, I just like a little bit more straightforward stuff. It seems like we took the big reveals from 13 and 14, and instead of extrapolating upon those ideas in a more concrete way, did a little bit, we introduced a whole bunch more complex stuff as well, to the point where it's getting a little bit overwhelming. But, we'll see. It's still a lot of show left, right? Clearly we're setting up some kind of election thing now with Miorine. Also, Soletta needs to grow a conscience or something. I don't know, that's all weird and stuff. What's our next episode called? Precious Things. Okay. Whatever you say. Oh, that's kind of cool. I like the colors. And yeah, I might go have something to eat, but I'll return and talk about these episodes in a little bit more detail. And we're back. Episodes 15 and 16 of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury in the books. What did I think? I'm torn a little bit, right? Ultimately, I like certain directions we're going with the show. I like a lot of the Earthian stuff this episode, ultimately the scapegoating of them, and that whole concept I think is very fascinating. I think the general directions for Soletta, Prospera, Miorine are interesting. I think an election is a pretty cool way to frame the conflict going forward, but I would be lying if I said that I thought the episodes were particularly watchable. I feel like it was a lot, and I'm like a lot. I think we needed to take a step back, find something a little bit more familiar, and focus in a little bit more on the emotions of the characters rather than all the minutiae and the different proper nouns around it, I guess. Because ultimately, yes, I think what's happening at the core with Miorine, Soletta, Prospera, as I said, emotionally is interesting. All of their respective character motivations there and how they play off of each other, and especially how it links into the major themes of the show around family. Again, the cycle of sin, that title of the next episode, what we inherit from our parents, how can we grow from that going forward. Like, that's all fascinating. I think that's great. But it's so muddled, in my opinion. It's muddled behind a lot of stuff. Just a lot of noise, I guess. Like, I think this first episode we're going to watch here struggles from this the most. Just the absolute task of needing to introduce so many new characters, so many new names, only for those characters to die very soonly after, and then still trying to gather some sort of genuine emotional reaction from its audience, from its ending, from the deaths of those characters. It's too much too quick. It just is to almost a ridiculous level. Again, focusing on the Guel stuff I think is great. Again, it's a little bit more emotions-based rather than just terms. Yeah, I don't know if I'm out on a limb on this one, and again, I'm willing and able to change my opinion here as we go back through it. I just thought it was, I felt like I was focusing less on the content of the story and how it makes me feel, and analyzing it and enjoying myself, and more just trying to jot everything down in my own mind. I don't know, maybe I'm just a stupid person, and everyone else just got this fine. I don't know. Felt a little bit much to me. But again, we're going to go back through here and we're going to have another look. I'm fascinated about how we get to the Nika stuff. How we think that Nika's responsible for everything. Why does Nerea beat the shit out of Nika, basically? Why? Anyway, jumping back in here. First shots of the episode reintroducing Earth to the audience, showing kids playing, having a good time, regardless of everything else that's going on. The clear symbolism here of matching up the industrial stuff with the naturalistic stuff, creating contrast. This is literally the Earthian, Spacian dynamic as shown. I wonder what's on the horizon for us. What's coming, what's encroaching potentially. Yeah, lots of good stuff there. I thought this text on screen here would carry a little bit more information. In general, it's just good advice overall, especially get enough sleep. And drink a big glass of water as well. Come on now. But no, it's just that side of it, I guess. Again, the as I said before, during kind of that middle portion between both episodes that I'll hopefully timecode here at some point, I was confusing Earthians overall with Dawn of Fold, as I've said multiple times now. So Dawn of Fold seem to be an extremist group that are anti-Spacian in general. Clearly don't like Benerick group very much. Somehow they got in contact with Shaddiq a long time ago, and he became the prince, the connection, right? And again, now that we know Shaddiq's motivations a little bit more overall, something splitting the assets of Benerick group to bring equality, to bring, a genuine status quo, bring everyone in together. It makes a lot of sense that he would be in contact with these kind of people, being part Earthian himself, as well as seeing them as a stepping stone to get to whatever he wants. Here we meet Olcott, who is a character we'll follow through this episode. He was mentioned by name only in a previous episode, again is a member of Dawn of Fold, and has a tragic backstory around his son. We then get introduced to these two child characters. They both have names that start with S. Neither of it matters, really, because the kids fucking die. That's no good, eh? But point being, for the audience, this reintroduces Guel and kind of clears up the confusion about what happened to him in the wake of the Plant Quetta stuff, right? So clearly he was taken as a hostage by Dawn of Fold to be used as a bargaining chip later on. They realized at some point he was the son of the Jaturk family. We can use him for something at some point. Again, it's weird because none of this really comes to fruition, right? I think that's another thing that I am querying about the 2 episodes and the story overall, the setups very early in the show seem to be thrown out willy-nilly, right? So here we have one where it's like, yeah, we'll use him as a bargaining chip, and then they just don't use him as a bargaining chip because circumstances change. Like, generally in screenwriting, there's a little bit of Chekhov's gun there, right? If you say something like that, it's not just merely justifying it for the audience, it is also like, this may happen. You know what I mean? Like same thing with the dueling game per se, right? It seems like we're moving away from that as a direction where, again, you introduce the stakes at some point because you will use them again. It's very interesting that the holder changed hands once and then hasn't changed hands again, like ever. And again, I'm still like holding out. Maybe this will come back at some point, but it seems like we're completely moving away from that structure. And I'm like, but why set it up? Why set it up in the first place? Guo's progression this episode is one of the high points, I would say, right? Starting here as somebody that is so lost and so forlorn that they're refusing to eat. They would rather starve themselves to death and die than need to face the reality of what they've done and the consequences there within. Very specifically, again, even next episode, when he comes back, he doesn't really tell his family what really happened. A big part of him next and his kind of story will be coming to terms with that kind of stuff, coming to terms with the mistake he made and learning to live with it and, you know, outing himself for that as well in the process. But yes, his journey from being, again, suicidal to trying to save somebody's life, it ending poorly, but still having the resolve to go back again, not lose anybody again. Like I've seen loss kind of through Dawn of Fold, right? I've seen what happens when a family gets broken apart right in front of me. It's a timely reminder to him that he still does have some semblance of family left, right? And he should hold on to what he has, right? He's on the precipice and he's moving back from it. That's kind of the structure of the episode. And I think that's quite successful. Again, he's only got more and more room to grow. So this is the scene I need to pay attention to. Dawn of Fold is evacuating. We got a message from Nerea. It seems Bennett Group has sniffed us out. Again, in my own mind, this is from Shadiq in that meeting. Right, where he was like, the terrorism at Plant Quetta, it was Dawn of Fold. And again, I'm reading this like Shadiq throwing them under the bus to get himself ahead. He can't tell them who was really behind it all because it was him. You know, if there's one thing we know about Shadiq, he will throw everybody under the bus to get himself ahead. He did it to his own de facto father. So like, you know, this isn't surprising, I guess. But we're also seeing the real human impact of it, right? All of these people have families in the refugee group, right? If they're threatened by whatever Bennett Group throws at us, I've got kids here, man. We need to evacuate everybody, you know? And then it becomes like, okay, we need to stay behind us as this group to make sure that they're able to get away. And again, it's some nice rhyming stuff thematically for the show. The show began with a parent trying to protect their child so very much that they were willing to do anything and stand in the way of danger. Like, again, what else is Eri's father doing, right? In that first episode, in that prologue. If not the very same thing that we're doing here. See how the cycle's continuing? See how we need somebody to break the system, potentially? Okay, I understand this a little bit more now. It's your fault that Sophie died. Sophie wouldn't have gotten into a duel with Soletta if Soletta wasn't trying to protect you, that being Nika. That's a line, but again, that's a very uncharitable way of looking at it, Nerea. Like, Sophie had every opportunity to not go ahead with what she was doing. I think Sophie was mentally compromised a little bit more than Nika being... And again, it's clearly somebody grieving. They're not meant to be taken, like, as a, you know, logical paragon. But still, you know, take a big step back and think about what you're really doing here. But this is where I get confused. Now you're putting Naji in danger too. I think, again, as I said before, you're under the impression that Nika was the one that ratted Dawn of Fold as the people at Plant Quetta, which just isn't the case. I know that Nika was ratting at the end of episode 14, and she kind of got found doing it and then taken in. And it seems like we're building plot-wise a little bit of a mystery around where Nika is, but, like, she just didn't do what you said that she did. Maybe she did philosophically, because we start talking about ideals here, right? Nika's ideals were the thing that ultimately, if she was just on our side instead of standing against us, our firm anti-Spacian stance that is, militant, right? We choose to kill Spacians, right? We choose to protect ourselves. Where again, Nika's a little bit more airy-fairy. Are you saying that the ideals of Nika overall and that philosophy is going to be the thing that kills us because it's a kill or be killed world out there and you don't understand that? If so, I think the subbing's poor because we're not getting that across pretty well. And I think it's a pretty obvious thing in the episode that we see, a peaceful kind of, philosophy from Nika here, right? One that emphasizes human rights and, the lack of death overall and proliferation of life and all these kind of important ethical concepts, and then see that applied by Guel, who is one to put all that kind of Spacian, Earthian dynamic stuff aside, forgetting all of the terrible things that even specifically that kid even had done to him and prioritizing keeping people alive. Like, that's obvious in the episode, I think, that we're making that kind of connection. Who is really, in the right here? I don't know, just still coming out of this scene, even on the rewatch, just frustrated. You're just... I don't know, man. You just need to make it more obvious in a screenwriting sense that you're in the wrong, that being Nerea. Because, the framing makes it seem like she's being the rational one here, which she's just not. She's just incorrect. Completely. She's even just working on false pretenses. What did Nerea do? Or what did Nika do? Seriously. Either way, moving swiftly onwards here, we have Shadiq and Zanelli, of course. Sarius, I think we're calling him, of course, who is querying what Shadiq's even trying to do. You're not just aiming for Grassley, are you? You had plenty of opportunities for Grassley before. You're making a play. Because I know what it means if I'm missing. That means election time, you want to be elected. Now, all this kind of war partitioning stuff is going over my head a little bit. I'm like... Okay, we covertly finance the massive costs of space development through war partitioning. I guess what we're trying to say is that Shadiq is morally dubious. I think the most important thing to take out of this scene is, one, you're half Earthian, and two, that you're trying to become president of Benerit to split the assets between Earth and Spacian. Because that will bring equality, that will bring peace, in your view. Which, again, I think that's a very ambitious goal. I think, this will go very smoothly. Again, I mean, like King Solomon style, negotiating and splitting things up. It's just so very basic. I don't know. But no, he doesn't even say half. He says, give all the assets to Earthians, and then the Earthians there'll be no war on Earth anymore. Are we gonna fight the Spacians in space using the assets from the Earth? Also, how are you selling assets to Earth as a concept overall? The Earth, unless I'm missing some lore stuff, the Earth isn't a business. You can't sell assets to a planet. Somebody has to own it, right? I'm just... what are we doing, guys? There had to have been a better way to get across what this scene wants to get across, which is just justifying Shadiq's motivations in a little bit more of a concrete way. He's an orphan, he's half Earthian, and he doesn't like Spacians very much. Broadly being this character that's scorned by his past and wanting to be the one that breaks the system, changes it, and be the one who seizes. I'm going to be the one in control and the one taking, as opposed to the people that have taken from me my entire life. Again, I don't need to tell you this, but this is the wrong tack to take. This isn't going to bring about peace, my friend. It's very short-sighted. So this is pretty confusing as well. These are Benerit Group Earth Garrison forces. They are different to Cathedra and Dominicus and all that kind of stuff, right? And this is where this Rajan guy comes into it, where, okay, the board's decision was to use their own forces and not Cathedra, where again, I guess we're saying overall that the group is being sus. But why? I don't understand. Why? What are we trying to imply by this scene? Why aren't we involving Cathedra? Because Cathedra may see something that they're not supposed to see? Are we just trying to, dot our I's and cross our T's? I'm just so confused. As I said before, it's hard for me to get invested in any of these weirdo freak characters because they all die so quickly. Again, I was investing time in the episode trying to learn their names and their stories and stuff. As it turns out, they're just kind of nothing. The only one I can even close to give a damn about, of course, is Olcott, who I think has a pretty interesting backstory. Maybe that's why we're not involving Cathedra? Maybe? Because we know that Olcott will be there, and that will be a conflict of interest? Potentially? Because he's former, he was on that side. And then he changed his tune after his family was literally used as... well, not used as, but was collateral in one of the conflicts earlier. Yeah. Again, that's that flashback we keep seeing. And again, that's radicalized him to the point where he's left what he used to have behind. Remind you of anybody? Guel, very obviously, right? Now, I really do like this scene. Just this small, quiet contemplation on the idea of remembering somebody and that being powerful. The power of giving somebody a proper burial, a headstone, a grave. Future generations will see this, or at least somebody at some point will see this and remember. Like, that's powerful, I think. The stuffed animals are a fine touch as well. Again, Sophie's connection to her various stuffed animals and those reflecting her found family. Again, the found family that surrounds her grave even now. And again, I think it gets to something existential as well. We want to remember these people in the here and now so that I'm not afraid of dying. I'll know that I'll be remembered all the same, I won't just fade into nothingness and have no connections to anybody, and my life will have meaning because I will be remembered, and because people will know my story, and my story will be, passed down through the ages and so forth. It's important for us humans here and now to know that we're doing this for the people that die, so that when we die, people are doing that for us. The episode itself does a good job of withholding information on Olcott, whilst also posing questions early, right? Like, what did Naji mean by that line with, like, you know what they're talking about when they, have to bury somebody and that kind of thing, and you're being all tsundere about it, saying that you don't remember, when it's very, very obvious that you do. You just want to admit that you don't remember your family. Because it pains you, it hurts. So now taking a step back and seeing what this episode was and what it was actually trying to do, I guess, I'm a little bit baffled. I think there was a better way of telling Guel's story and getting him back on track. It's very labored. It's intensive, right? Like introducing all these characters, having each have a respective death, introducing a family motivation for all of them, showing that they're willing to live and die for their cause and whatnot. I think a lot of that was already established through different other characters in the show that will be going concerns. I don't know why we spend so much time talking with fucking Paul and whoever else. It just can't help but feel pointless to me, I guess. I got a lot of this stuff already. I guess it goes to show, the people on the ground being affected by the big picture stuff happening in the rest of the show, but I think we already knew that. We had scenes early in the show, like the protest scenes and whatnot, and we have a similar compilation kind of news report thing the next episode. I think that's all you really needed. I guess maybe we'll do some stuff with Olcott? Maybe? Naji's probably going to come back at some point. The other one would be, I guess it brings up the idea of the Dominicus guy being sus of everything going on, which I think he's being set up pretty evidently as well. Other than that, I don't see why. I don't see the why. Like, if you were to ask me if I would rather have this episode as it is right now, or just another episode checking in with everybody I know and all the characters that, I've grown to like and become invested in the rest of the show, then I'm taking, the characters I know every single time. I'm taking the latter there. And I hate to come across as negative, because I do think the Guel stuff here is really strong. I like the kid saying, why did you take Dad from me? Why did you take Dad from me, right? Because I believe her father was a casualty at the Plant Coeta stuff, right? Again, that's very obviously connected to Guel and his struggle. why did you take my dad from me? That's the question he's asking himself, right? Ultimately, his violent tendencies, as kind of egged on by his father, and his aggression there very early in the show was coming to bite him in the ass, right? You know, all that tension, all that pressure came to a point where he made a mistake that he'll never be able to rectify. He'll never be able to get his father back. And him coming to the sad, slow, and somber realization that that is the case, but we need to move on regardless. And I need to maybe change my tact and become a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more human first, you know? That's great. Tick, tick, tick. Love it. Again, I'm keen to see how this incident here changes him later on, right? I'm keen to see how his tact changes when, you know, Jaturk is making moves a little bit later in the plot. You know, Guel here also overhears that his company is about to go bankrupt. Seems like Lauda isn't doing very well. Again, he had the whole kind of incident going on, right? And also, we must remember Jaturk is being kind of scapegoated for the Plant Quetta stuff as well. Like, again, everyone's really sus on them for their involvement, which is half true. Shadik's the real guy there, but anyway, we know that. But his company going bankrupt would be akin to, again, dying without a proper burial, I guess. Just kind of fading into nothing. All the connections and all the sacrifices we made in the past would be for nothing. If I want to do right by my father and preserve his memory and fulfill my destiny in that process, all these things that he wanted, I need to get back there and I need to help out. This is, again, like, it's go time. You need to do this in the here and now, otherwise you'll never have the chance to do so again. If he wants to make good on things, he needs to go. Now, why does the rookie guy tweaks here and just, like, shoots at them, which is the start of the conflict? I think the idea is that they were getting scanned regardless and he wanted to take the full shot. So they would have found us regardless. He just jumped out and started shooting, I guess. The most obvious thing in the episode here is that rookie guy, Jalil, I think his name was, something like that. He, like, jumping out of the way of these missiles and the missiles directly going straight forward and, you know, hurting the school and taking out the characters in the previous scene as collateral, right? It's very almost jingoistic. He wants to, like, rush into war straight away and, like, be the hero and thinks it's all a game and all that kind of stuff, right? And again, gets reminded of the real consequences of this kind of thing. Again, bringing into question the grand dichotomy of the show between these mobile suits as things that help people and things that bring about destruction and war and killing. Another very specific note here is as the conflict is continuing, we're leading the Spacians over to the industrial zone, right? Again, associating them thematically more with this kind of area, right? Like, away from the peace, love, and nature type stuff, I guess. So that missile hit the school. Olcott was caught in the explosion, and as he's kind of waking up, hearing one of the kids shouting out to him, he gets reminded of a thing that happened in the past, whereby this is his son. He got crushed in something, right? Another very obvious one here as well is this artificial arm, probably something that happened kind of in the wake of that incident with his son as well, right? He lost an arm at that time, but he also lost something far greater as well. Again, something that he is continuing to repent for even now. Why do you think he's doing the things that he's doing, trying to shut down, you know, what he used to be a part of? He's completely changed tact. It's to make good on kind of the stuff with his son, right? Like, I want to bring about peace, and this is how I see to bring about peace. That's what motivates him, you know? Even the scar, he had a scar down his eye, or across his eyebrow there, which is now, you know, permanently on his face. Like, it's this constant reminder of that struggle and of that day. We make our way over to other kid here. We check her pulse, and we say, nah, she's done for, leave her. As Olcott is leaving, we hear her call out for father, but I don't believe that Olcott really hears that. He just kind of walks away. I believe that Guel hears this and vows to save her after hearing it. Again, saving her, almost becoming, you know, a de facto parent in this way, wanting to save a familial and parent-child connection of another person now that mine has been severed, right? By my own hand. It's him, again, trying to fix things. If I save you in the here and now, in my own mind, that's almost like, you know, a life for a life. I took my father's life, but I allowed some other, you know, daughter of somebody to be alive, to continue to live. And it's not perfect, but it's something, right? And it's showing that Guel is making steps forward. However, at the factory, a lot of fighting, a lot of people dying. I think the fight's pretty good, but again, I wouldn't say it's the best fight in the series by any means. Again, a lot more gritty and grounded. The use of real ammunition as well as a more familiar setting is, pretty stark in this regard, I would say. I'll keep saying it, the Guel stuff here is clearly the strongest stuff in the episode. I love him here saying that he doesn't even know why he's doing what he's doing. Again, like the brain hasn't even caught up yet. He just wants to, what's the word? Like, make good on everything, but he doesn't know how. And he's just grasping at anything that makes him feel like a little bit more of a hero and a little bit more on the good side. It's his own atonement, right? And I love the admittance that he's not even conscious of it. He's just going. Unfortunately, our good friend Phil goes the way of the dodo. Is this the same kid? Is that a different kid? Maybe it's a different kid, I don't know. I'm talking about the same one that was over at the school early in the episode. But again, pretty obviously they're reinforcing that family connection, father and son, as the episode is titled. We have this fucking Bessie guy. So here at this scene over here, he kind of rushes in, and then over on this scene, once we check back in with Guel, he's flung across the fucking map. So it mustn't have went well, and then kind of Guel comes in and hijacks the machine. But again, he wanted a vehicle regardless. This works perfectly. However, Guel peers into the cockpit then, is confronted with the realities of war. This would have to be a moment as well where he must think of what his father's cockpit must have looked like. Pause. Because again, I murdered him the same way that the garrison forces are murdering these guys in the here and now. Like, it's less confronted by blood and guts and stuff and more confronted with what I did to my own father. The same thing as like the Soletta Slam, right? Like, it is always something that you need to regret on some level when you take another's life. Right? Not the least your own father. Guel here on the reverse shot, glancing over to the child that's dying, thinking that, hey, I must confront what I did and use this cockpit once again if I want to save this life in the here and now. A perfect encapsulation of his growth in this episode, right? Brushing away the past. The past is the past. We cannot change it. And moving forward into the future and trying to save more lives. We can learn here that Olcott's actual name is Ridrick Kruger, and this fatso over here is somebody that actually recognizes him. The editing here makes now the mirroring of Olcott and Guel very obvious, right? Just as Guel is making his decision to change and his decision to try to make things better, we learn the origins of Olcott, right? Who was once an immature kid, probably much like that Jalil guy that just kind of jumped out and started shooting people and didn't really think about the consequences. But after incident, whereby his son died, and again, Guel, whereby incident where his father died, they change their tune and become different people. Olcott was on his quest, right, with Dawn of Fold. Now it flips over to Guel. How is Guel going to take these lessons learned going forward as he re-enters the system once again? So, okay, unafraid of higher-ups, he stuck to his own sense of justice, but in the end, he was attacked by Earthians himself. I guess his family were collateral damage after being attacked by Earthians. So what makes him want to join Dawn of Fold? What? I guess he makes a decision somewhere along the way that the Spacians were actually at fault, or something. Or I threw it all away, but throwing it all away is one thing, but joining the same team as your family's killers is a weird one. Why'd he do that? I don't think that's very well explained at all. It almost feels like a mistranslation. Like, I kind of want to get up the wiki and check, like, Olcott's wiki, but I, obviously can't. That can't be his story, right? It can't be. Unless it's, mega gigacope, to an insane level. Why would you do that? Either way, I thought it was a great touch in the episode for the kid to actually die. It's something that I didn't expect. And also, I guess, shows that sometimes you have the best intentions and sometimes it still doesn't work out. But what matters is that you were trying. And that's what he takes going forward, right? I actually attempted to save this life right in front of me, right? Instead of joining in the conflict or being self-serving or any of that stuff, I took the selfless decision and tried. Even if it was in vain. Even if they ultimately, met the same end, her and my father. at least I'm here. At least I'm still here and I can still impact things. Obviously bringing the episode full circle here as well, with Guel being the one to bury the child. I forgot her name. It started with S. Cethio or something. Again, all that same stuff I said before about the need to actually bury people and the need to have them remembered and all that other kind of stuff. It all comes back here. Instead of you burying this child that you honestly barely knew, it's more like you burying the idea of the death of your father as well. We won't forget about it, but we're also going to put it aside. I'm not going to carry it with me any longer. Making the connection very obvious here is I heard her say Otosan. I heard her say dad, right? That reminded me of certain things, and I wanted to change that. I wanted to change the way it went in the past. And of course, Olcott can relate to that all too well. Great touch here of him having that flashback, and after it kind of, grabbing his arm, holding onto that symbol of that day as well. Olcott, despite being actually emotionally moved by this whole scene, is still being kind of stubborn about it. I'm not your father, so you can go do whatever you want. As to what you do next, you have to have a think about it. And yeah, he does. Can you at least tell me how to get to the orbital permit lift? So basically, I don't know, he somehow travels back. I guess, I don't know what an orbital permit lift is, but I think it's like a travel thing. Instead of being reclusive and wanting to die, now he wants to go forth and change things. I can't let myself lose anybody else that important to me. Specifically, again, wanting to atone for the father even more, and what he stood for, and the family, and his brother, and all that other kind of stuff. I have to go back. Now, there is a post-credit scene, of course, which is actually pretty important. It's big picture stuff about Notret, of course, and Plant Quetta and Quiet Zero and all that kind of stuff. It was a modest idea at first. As a botanical engineer, Mistress Notret thought that the various survival strategies used by plants could also be applied to humanity. So this is Quiet Zero we're talking about. Okay, survival strategies, obviously a reference, I think. Again, considering the connections that this show has to Utena, it's pretty obvious that they probably watched Penguin Drum as well, so just throwing that as a little nod there is very fun. Of course, I shan't forget that I believe Prospera's voice actress was in Penguin Drum as well, so another connection there as well. Point being that I think plants have brains. I don't know how to explain this, man. Plants have a different survival strategy to humans and a different kind of method of, reproducing. I know that's obvious, but, shut up. Point being, we're trying to apply some of that general vibe into, Gundams. What plants do with, sensing things and stuff. It was a dream with no real basis, but that was just like her. One of the people that supported her vision, of course, was Delling. This is how Delling and Notret met, probably how they came to like each other, and how Miorine happened, right? Now, Miorine wasn't privy to any of this stuff. She just didn't like her dad very much and didn't really consider that. Notret wasn't forced into this. There must have been some connection there, even if you can't see why now. So for me, this is still only another piece of the puzzle. It doesn't explain everything yet. Because I think that this somehow still needs to tie into Delling and not liking Gundams and his actions back in the day. But it can't as well, timeline-wise. Notret died 10 years ago or so. It can't have been at the same point as Vanidus and all that kind of stuff. Maybe not 10, maybe more like 12. But you know what I mean. Miorine's 17, and she looked about 4 or 5 when her mother died. So, it just doesn't quite fit yet. We don't know everybody's motivations. I'd prefer to have this conversation with Delling rather than Rajan. No, we kind of get into it here. We don't like Gundams because we went to war and war was sucky. And we don't believe that humans can cope with this kind of technology. And again, emphasis on the lack of the loss of human life. The restoration of human nature, that's what the president desired, even if it took drastic measures. That's very silly. Why are we... humans are becoming less human by using these Gundam things because they kill people. Let's take the ultimate humanist approach and preserve human life by eliminating Gundams. And in the process of eliminating Gundams, Let's do a massacre. Let's kill a bunch of people. It doesn't make any sense. Is it some Tanya the Evil type stuff? Like, literally the stuff I was talking about with it, like, 2 days ago? Whereby the ends justifying the means, needing to do a little bit of sin now so that, the whole world can benefit from it later? I guess, but it takes a bit of squinting to see that, I think. Okay, so he was never able to accomplish that overall goal, so then he saw Nautret's thing and became interested, right? But then she got lost in an accident where it was implied that it's either Delling or her, I think, which was the vibe. Yeah, so in the wake of everything, Delling found Nautret and became enamored with her ideas, I guess. So then Delling set up the dueling game, the marriage stuff, so you could be married off to somebody powerful, which would also keep you safe, because we want to preserve human life, especially the life of somebody that reminds me of Nautret so very much, which is all sorts of convoluted, but sure. Rajan ends the episode here pleading with Miorine to not become her father, right? You are your own person. Please follow your own heart when it comes to this kind of stuff. What happens in the end of the next episode? She gets lured in by the sins of the father and blackmailed, guilt-tripped, into essentially keeping on doing the Quiet Zero thing, which is going to put her more in danger, the exact thing that Delling didn't want, and not even something that you even stand for anymore. Something you stand for on some level because of the Nautret stuff, but not really. Not what Prospera wants to do with it anyway. Running out of time here today, unfortunately, so we may need to do this next episode a little bit quicker. And unfortunately for us, I think this one's more intensive than the last one. We start the next episode back with Belle, of course, having that conversation with Prospera, getting to the bottom of where the hell Eri is and the whole Ariel debacle. And I think the vibe here is that, okay, so Eri's brain connected with Elthrith. We saw that in, episode prologue or whatever, right? But her physical form couldn't endure the harshness of outer space. She was a child and she died during the journey. So obviously, very tragic for you. You've lost your husband, and then on the journey you also lose your daughter. That sucks. But then I find that my daughter is alive, kind of in spirit, somewhere on the other side through this Gundam thing, right? And then I use it to keep her alive, right? I do everything in my power to preserve Eri. Even now, I'm trying to get Eri back. That's the overall goal. And then she goes full-on villain monologue, which I think is very funny. The voice actress is just eating it up, chewing the scenery. Love to see it. Music doing some heavy lifting here. I think this is a really good scene. If we expand the range of the data storm through Quiet Zero, Eri can live in freedom. So, okay, Eri is permit particles. If we expand permit zone, she can live. She can be alive. I think that's the vibe. So she exists in small robot at the moment. If we expand big robot out using Quiet Zero, then Robo Baby can live. Fair enough, fair enough. But again, Prospera, your goals are an ethical nightmare. Oh my god, I can't believe you'd do this. Belle believes these aren't the principles of the Vanitas Institute, right? This isn't what we were trying to achieve. This isn't the utopia that we thought it was. What you're doing is borderline insane. I want no part of it. But then again, Prospera Una reverses her. We've seen this once before. Hey, you work for Peel. Peel are doing some pretty unethical stuff, right? You ticked off on that. You actually helped. We also name check here, what is it? An artificial central nervous system with resistance to data storms, probably something that they were using in the Alans, called the neural expansion theory. And again, you hear that name, that's something that you were working with way back in the day with Vanitas, but Dr. Kato rejected. But, that's something you came up with. I'm taking your ideas to the nth degree in doing this. Again, you're kind of complicit here. You have to come to terms with the fact of what you've done and what it means for Elan and all that kind of stuff, right? You've done unethical things. And again, you need to, face the music with that kind of thing. You can't just say it was just a job. You did it. You did the thing. You authored the paper, dog. And again, Prospera's kind of I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. If I'm already doing unethical shit, I might as well get my daughter back in the process. Maybe, Belle, you should take that on board as well. We've broken the seal. We've already gone past what was accepted, right? We should just continue to expand. Where, again, Belle's thing through the rest of the episode is going to kind of be, quietly atoning for that kind of stuff. We then do a news report kind of exposition thing, which is kind of successful. It tacks a lot of talking points very quickly and shows what the general public's perspective of things would be. The important framing here is that the Space Assembly people, or whatever, these guys with these freak-looking people that were sus of Bennett group in general, are seeing this, and this is reason for their interference. They want to become more and more involved here and learn the actual story behind everything because of what they're seeing. You know, it just all stinks. They want to go see what's going on, especially Shinsei from their own little investigations. And this is kind of what I mean from last episode. I don't think we really needed all that extra stuff when we could have gotten the same concept across in this kind of news report. Like, yes, there is growing anti-Spacian sentiment on Earth. There are protests and riots. The connection between Spacians and Earthians has never been more tenuous, based on this Dawn of Fold accusation, based on the, Bennett, shutting them down and being all over them and stuff. And again, I think the vibe here is that Shadik's planning all of this. So Shadik leaked the info to the news, and Shadik is also telling maybe Cathedra to not get as involved because he wants to create a situation of instability to the point where there is an election. Maybe that's why Cathedra wasn't called last episode, and instead we used somebody else. We used the internal Bennett group forces. Remember when this was a show about a school? And like they dueled at the school? And we did like cool school classes with robots? I don't know, man. I don't know if I signed up for this kind of show, I guess, when I started this. Oh, now this could be an interesting development, right? So we bring up the idea of Miorine running for president. We don't think she's going to do it, but blood isn't enough to get you to the job regardless, even if you did run. She may need backing from one of the three branches in order to do so. So let's say that Miorine is put in a position whereby she needs Shadik's backing to be able to become president, to be able to fulfill her obligations to Prospera and Soletta and all that kind of stuff, to atone for the sins of her father there, of course, as well. Wouldn't that make Shadik happy? Isn't one of the whole goals here just to be next to Miorine? What if you were like, yeah, I'll back up your election campaign if you date me? That could be a good way to, take this back to more emotional concepts. Like he says there, I'm not going to try to be her partner anymore, but I just don't believe him. Why else would you set it up in the show if it wasn't going to do anything? Miorine and Gundam Incorporated, of course, have been cleared of any wrongdoing, at least for now. We haven't found any evidence anyway. Miorine looks at her phone during this process and sees that Soletta has called her, or at least texted her 3 times a day. Like she said she was gonna, right? Very, very cool. Again, what's happening there, though, is it kind of stinks a little bit of Soletta thinking that Miorine is mad and trying to make things better, right? Like, after a couple has a fight, like taking her out on a nice dinner or something, right? It feels a little bit obligatory. And as we find out, Soletta hasn't really learned the lesson of why Miorine was concerned with what she was doing, right? It's probably an important lesson that she hasn't fully grasped yet. In that way, I really like this as a metaphor. We have this machine in here kind of patching up the hole that used to be there when the terrorism happened, right? The school's under kind of military control. We're kind of, patching up the holes, but it's only a patch. It's not like things were back to the way they were. There's still evidence of something happening, and its kind of ramifications are still rippling throughout the school. It's a very different place than it was in the very start of the show. Many students are leaving, it's all very restricted. The Space Assembly people, are they like space government? Like, what's going on there? Why do they have power? I guess we haven't really established that very well, I don't think. Very notably, Cecilia is sticking around at the school, at least until Miorine's birthday, in case there's another duel. So there probably is going to be another duel here at some point. Choo-Choo wants blood, which is fair enough. Specifically, Choo-Choo wants to go find Nika. We don't know where she is. We think that the front assembly force has potentially taken her. Potentially. But as we learn later in the episode, that isn't the case. So it becomes like, where's Nika? Give us back Nika. And we just don't know. In that process, we're also suspended because we're being investigated, and also we're being bullied from fucking every other student because they're all Spacians, and there's big old conflict between Spacians and Earthians at the moment. Specifically here as well, Ariel and Choo-Choo's mobile suit have all been kind of confiscated as well. Cue the gang walking outside and having really contrived scene about I don't know, the Spacians and the Earthians hate each other. Everyone's so, it seems very, like, what's the word? Dumb, I guess. Like, have a nuanced point of view at all. Just, and again, I know that kids, and I know that people aren't nuanced in these kind of things, and that's the whole point. But clearly, Sophie and Nerea aren't us. If we were terrorists, we've been at this school a long time, we would have did it already. I'm telling you. So you don't think these two rando transfer students that came in for a day, just because they're Earthians, are our mates? That isn't how this works. And again, I understand that there's propaganda and you've been radicalized and all that other kind of stuff, but it's just, I think it's a really stupid way to go. Again, I think it's way more interesting from the Soletta perspective. Again, seeing the ramifications of the use and improper use of Gundams, right? Something that you need to consider. These people over here crying from the death of their friend, fucking Jumbala, whatever his name was. Them crying is probably the same thing that happened to the family of the guy I smushed, right? Like, these things have tangible impacts on the rest of the world, and I can't just do whatever mum says all the time. I made that person over there sad. I don't want to make people sad. I need to learn to become my own person and not just a puppet of my mother. But again, mum's been manipulating me from a very young age, so like, dunno. Either way, Mummy Miorine comes back and she kind of breaks up the fight here, which is cool. Potentially even blackmailing these other kids, these Spacian kids, which is funny because you kind of get guilted and blackmailed in the end of the episode. Very cool. Now, I don't know what we're doing with Nika's character, like, at all. So, it seems like Nika wants to do things her own way the entire time. As it turns out, a lot of Grassley, like Shadiq and his girls and that kind of thing, a lot of them have Earthian ties. They sympathize with the cause, but see assimilation into the system and taking control from the very top as the way. Right? She is supporting Shadiq in his endeavors because she thinks that Shadiq has the right idea about this kind of stuff, right? You must seize the power and then use it, right? You can't break down the system without taking control of the system yourself, you know? But again, absolute power corrupts absolutely, that old chestnut. I think, again, you guys aren't seeing that at the moment. When Nika, on the other hand, despite the invitation from you in the here and now, you just want to do your own thing. I don't want to be a part of anything bigger, any larger plan. I just want to be a mechanic and want my people to not die and want to, make a peaceful place to live. Specifically, even here now, it's not even about just going to school for her anymore, right? They guarantee that you could continue to go to a different school if you joined them in the here and now, right? You would be an asset going forward. But no, I don't want to do that. It's not about just me, it's about what my actions represent for everybody. Even if the ends are correct, I don't want to use the incorrect means. Even if it's for Earth's sake, I won't forsake my own kind of culpability in this, and my own actions, and my own set of ethics. However, we counter here with ideals by themselves but don't change anything. You can't leave here either unless you basically agree to what we're saying. Stop being naive and just join us, basically. And then, we have this fucking fool over here, Elon number 5. He's all very happy. So he's having a secret little chat with his Peel people. They're kind of disappointed with him. They think he's kind of being a bit of a goof. And again, now that there's going to be an election for a new president, we don't really care about the whole wanting to date Soletta angle, trying to get, in close with Miorine and seize the company that way. We're more concerned about an election, and we just want you to kind of have a look at Ariel and try to seize Ariel, because Ariel is pretty important. So instead of being all kind of, sly and conniving and stuff, you should just go in and take what you want, right? Drop the act, basically. Very obvious in the edit here, we have Elan number 5, back-to-back with Shadiq, back-to-back with Guel re-entering the scene, right? All at kind of different levels of elevation. You have Elan kind of hiding within his mech, hiding his real motives, hiding all that kind of stuff. You have Shadiq out in the open, elevating himself, literally up the elevator here. And we have Guel only just re-entering the scene. Very different in the costuming. He's clearly a changed man after the events of last episode, and I guess the last little bit for him. Very funny scene where he just kind of walks in after literally being gone for like months here at this point, I would think. And Lauda here is very funny. He kind of sees him, he drops his pen, and then he like instantly faints. Very funny to me. I don't know. Just like, He was clearly holding a lot in. And of course, Guel can't help but feel guilty about this whole thing and the strain that he's put on his younger brother. So, Lauda had to step up in your absence, and of course, since that other terrible thing happened, the death of our father. Guel is responsible for both of those. Guel killed his father. He's not telling you that in the here and now, but yeah. So again, like my brother feeling that way literally because of my actions, that sucks. But at least I'm here to fix things now. I'm no longer running away. I no longer want to just die. We must remember you also have a thing for Lauda, so you know, when we're like, you know, you stay with Lauda and help him feel better and that kind of stuff. You know, it's cute. I like it. And Guel basically says, let me handle the corporation, and just kind of walks off into the sunset. But he is being welcomed back in the here and now, which is nice. I wonder what will happen if they find out the real person that killed Dad. We'll never know, I guess. We cut over to Miorine, who gets a phone call. We learn here that Nika was stolen by fake front management company people, if that makes any sense. There were Shadiqs. So she's in the possession of Shadiq, but we thought that she was with front management. As it turns out, they have never seen her. After receiving this information, I should get a name for her. I believe it's Fong something like that. The Space Assembly people, they want in to investigate some things, and they want Gundam to be the way they do that, right? So, hey, Gundam, I want to have a look at Shinsei through you. I also want to have a look at the overall Bennett stuff to see if we need to intervene. I do wonder what will happen if you ever learn about Quiet Zero and that kind of stuff. Will you approve? Will that lead to a larger conflict going on? Maybe. Again, specifically naming that Plant Coeta is suspicious. They're getting a lot of stuff there, and they're spending a lot on Gundam repairs. What's going on? Apparently here we say that the Space Assembly Force's role is as mediators? Again, just like, are they just the government? Is that what's happening and they're just getting audited? I guess. Either way, nice scene here where everyone's thankful for Miorine and her actions and stuff, and it's all very lovely. She immediately gets swamped with a bunch of work that she's missed while she was away, again, recovering and taking care of the father and the whole Prospera situation. She's kind of been away from school for quite a while. And again, everyone tries to swamp her with different things to do. I like this little freak over here. He helps Soletta kind of overcome, you know, her social anxiety here. Clearly she wants to be a little bit selfish when it comes to her wife, right? To her betrothed, but doesn't have the confidence to do so. I like that you're the person that gives her a little bit of a push. Again, first and foremost, Miorine, I'd love you to have a look at the tomatoes. The garden that I've spent so long cultivating, right? And yeah, again, for the first time since the smash, right? Since the big old slap, these two are actually going to have a chat. However, just as they're about to go away and have a heart-to-heart, Prospera rears her ugly head. Actually, we don't know what she looks like. She's always wearing the damn helmet. And yeah, her presence is very pointed, I think. Specifically, she wants to snoop around Gundam Incorporated a little bit, I think. Again, I maybe we learn by the end of this scene, but I don't quite remember. The important thing here for me is that Soletta wants to show you around, you know, like a child would do with a parent when they kind of attend school. You know, I spend a lot of time here. Let me show you around, show you what I do. It's not about getting from point A to point B. It's about sharing part of my world with you. It's about connecting and that side of it. It's about being a parent and a child. You not understanding that and thinking that she actually just wants to show you around is very funny. It's like, I can handle myself. No! And again, I think that's kind of sad, whereby you see Soletta as a means to get to Eri. You don't even see her as a real child, almost. You see her as a pawn to use in your schemes, which I don't think is entirely fantastic. What will Soletta think if she ever learns of this, I guess? Anyway, Miorine storms off with Soletta and they go to see the tomatoes. Meanwhile, Elan number 5 mambo's his way into Ariel and wants to have a poke around. I think he just wants to steal it. He knows where it is, he's kind of snuck in, and he's just kind of trying to figure some stuff out. So in contrast, we remember Elan number 4 was able to use it, you know, with no barriers, that kind of stuff. Things are different now for Elan number 5. Multiple things. 1, Ariel is like a person. It has like a person's brain. It's not just a machine that can be turned on and off, right? Ariel, in that time with number 4, saw it was a good time to not instigate this side of it and the data storm side of it, right? And potentially chose not to do that then and to do that now. Like, Ariel is a human. Ariel has control over what it does, right? The other side of this could be the upgrades that Ariel got over the course of, or since the last time that an Elan was inside of it. Maybe that's got something to do with it. I don't know. Either way, we have the space baby here kicking him out. Now, I thought that Alan was going to maybe die here, or at least get, like, brain wiped or something. But no, he doesn't. He still, to my knowledge, knows about the space baby. Is he going to tell Peel this? Will Peel then know? That's a big can of worms, right? I do like the visual here of, is it 9 or so different kind of Aries up in the sky? Again, much like the gun bits. 11 from memory? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Certainly seems like 11 to me. I guess showing the sophistication of the network and all that kind of stuff inside Ariel, and also kicking Elan number 5 out in the process. Bell was watching from a distance as Elan number 5 is ejected from the vehicle. And again, they both work for Peel, right? So this is orders from above. We're meant to steal this thing. You should help, Bell. It's like, no, I can't. It must be easier tinkering with this than with enhanced humans. What should I have done instead? After my colleagues and research went up in flames, I had to take refuge on Peel's payroll. But one day, Gun's ideals would lead to a better future. So, this is all a bit quick, and I think that you're obviously emotionally compromised. You've been, like, mind-fried from that conflict with Prospera earlier. You remind me a lot of Nika here. I think that's what we're trying to get across as well. Believing in ideals and believing that there'll be a better future without any of the negative stuff that comes along with it, right? Where again, there's a reason like Elan pushes her to the ground in the here and now, right? It's like, no, the ideals by themselves aren't strong enough. And again, also feeling some kind of way because you did human experiments on me to make me look like a different person, right? This is almost an external person being placed here to do the own internal judgment that Belle is making of herself, right? So Belle is justifying what she had to do with the enhanced humans and the ethically uncool stuff that she had to do there as justified insofar as it kept me alive and insofar as it kept the ideals alive, right? Where Elan disagrees. You don't give a damn about me, you experimented on me, how could you? Again, it gives you no ground to stand on if you were to say anything about Prospera's plan, right? Because you've done shady shit too. Either way, Belle's gonna get reported to the higher-ups, and she's kind of cowering in the corner and all very sad and stuff. Again, the ideals by themselves aren't strong enough. Again, especially when you need to compromise yourself to stay alive to fulfill said ideals. What is the best strategy there? It's hard to say. Clearly, you've got a lot of trauma around the subject. Okay, then we commence very interesting scene. So let me describe the overall flow of it first and foremost. So, there's a tension between Miorine and Soletta. They don't really know who's mad at each other and what's wrong and blah, 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 blah. It's clear to see that the whole splat incident has changed things. Soletta asks if Miorine is mad at her, but Miorine thinks that she's just mad at herself. Again, she's thought about this a little bit more rationally. That guy was going to shoot me and my father. It's only natural that you needed to do that to, you know, save me, to make sure that I didn't die. And I wanted to thank you for that, making that sacrifice for me almost, compromising your own humanity in order to, you know, in order so I didn't have to. Isn't that great? That's wonderful. But just like back with the Splat incident, it's not that she did the action, it's the flippant nature by which she did it and the jovial nature after the fact, right? Why are you smiling and offering me a bloody hand? Why are you tripping around and being all clumsy in the blood? Why in the here and now are you smiling at me when thinking about the killing that you did? That is not natural and not something that I can condone as Miorine. Again, especially here connecting it into Prospera, who we know that you're already not a big fan of based on the previous interactions that you guys have had. Prospera told me that you'd understand eventually. No, it's not something that anybody should ever understand. That's what we're not getting here. That was my, like, kind of extreme negative reaction to the scene. You're missing the thing, Soletta. But again, the show knows that. It's very obvious that it knows that. But, like, it's just so frustrating, man. Again, it almost feels like she's this person without ethics. That's why I'm seeing this kind of clone angle a little bit. Something like that. That would also explain why kind of Prospera is very flippant about Soletta, it seems, and how Soletta is used, where she's very protective of Eri. Yeah? Something in that, maybe? And again, the framing here is quite good. I like having this conversation about the splat incident in front of the tomatoes. Again, this grand dichotomy in the show between the blood of that's inside people and the tomato juice, the killing and the saving, and the industrial and the natural and all that other kind of stuff, right? I think that's very good. Like, hey, Soletta, you can't apply your stupid little motto here. Like, there's some more serious stuff going on that you're quite not considering at the moment. And again, Miorine very quick here to zero in on Prospero as the bad influence, right? So Mum said it was okay. Well, if Mum told you to jump off a bridge, would you? And then Soletta's like, yeah, I think I would. I think the really damning one here is that your overall goal about the school on Mercury and all that other kind of stuff, right? You would throw that out the window for your mother. It's like you have no sense of self entirely, right? The dreams of a person is what makes them, right? And if you're willing to throw that away for her right now, that speaks to a level of undue influence that probably needs to be addressed. And again, there's clearly some, like, Miorine likes Soletta. I don't know if you guys have been watching the show. So again, you feel incensed about this and go take that conflict to the person themselves, right? Go to Prospero, go to the source. I also love Soletta here being unable to lie, because Miorine is like, if Mum told you to kill people, would you kill people? It's like, Soletta, buddy, just say no. You can lie. But she still says yes. Like, oh my god. How terrible. As I said before, this is when we're taking the conflict over to Prospero herself, and Prospero's all very smug about this, because I know something that you don't. I know the Vanitas massacre, and I know what happened there. So again, you can be mad at me for using her as a puppet, right? But you, in turn, have to be mad at your own father for what he did to my family. Again, you may say all this stuff about what I'm doing with Soletta and it not being cool, but remember what your father did, and it's a trillion times worse. So the Rajan guy knew, obviously, but he didn't tell Miorine. My question is, how the fuck doesn't Miorine know this? I guess there was only 2 survivors and it was like ancient history. It was like 20 years ago or something. So like, I guess? I don't know. I guess there would be nobody to tell her, right? Anyway, point being, your daddy killed my husband, so I don't like you very much. And if you want to atone for those sins and you don't want me to tell Soletta this information, which would make her not like you very much, then hey, you better do what I say. You accuse Soletta of being a murderer, but you're the same, inside a circle of murderers. Well, kinda. Well, I get what you're saying, though. I see the angle you're trying here, Prospero. Is when the voice performance gets really cool, like Prospero's being like haunted by the ghosts of the people that died, the ghosts telling me to avenge the deaths, to kill that man Delling. I want you to hear those voices as well, Miorine. And again, this is all the guilt tripping going on. This is how I convince you to run for president. So yeah, hey, I've still got this Quiet Zero plan. If there's a new president, that plan goes kaput. That's why I need you as president. I'm gonna need you to run for this thing. If not, I'm going to tell Soletta about this, and she's probably not going to like you very much. Because again, I have all the influence in the world over Soletta. She would let go of you if I said so, right? And yeah, you can become president because you're Delling Rembrandt's blood-stained daughter. Yeah, again, like all this guilt tripping to make you seem just as culpable as the person that did the fucking splat of death. Anyway, I digress. And then from there into the ED, of course. Look at these 2 problematic queens. I don't know, man. Get me out of here. As you could probably tell from that portion, not the biggest fan of these 2 episodes. Doesn't mean I hate the show. Doesn't mean I'm throwing everything out. But yeah, I would have structured things differently. I would have brought the story in a different direction to the direction we're taking it now. Pretty obviously. I do think there's good stuff here. I still think the central core of what's going on is pretty good. I really like the Guel stuff. I think it was fantastic. But I think we're getting a little bit convoluted in the plotting. A few too many proper nouns and places and people and stuff. I just wish we were a little bit more out in the open with that kind of stuff. And yeah, I guess the choice to focus in so much on the Earthians in that episode 15 didn't really vibe with it. But again, still very watchable. And I always enjoy my time. Either way, I'll catch you next week for 2 more episodes. Hope you look forward to them. I'll see you then. Patreon, Discord, like the video, subscribe. I'm out of here. See you later.